إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah, and as such we should praise Him. Seek His help and seek His forgiveness. ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. And we should seek refuge in Allah from the evil which is within our souls and the evil which results from our deeds. من يهده الله فلا مضل له. Whoever Allah has guided, none can misguide. وَمَن يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. And whoever Allah has allowed to go astray, none can guide. وَأَشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. And I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah, who is alone without any partner. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. And I bear witness that Muhammad was His slave and messenger. We continue with this, the sixth in our series, The Empire of Deceit. And in the first series, the first program of the series, we said that the story about this empire should be taught to our children. We teach them Star Wars and everything else, but we don't teach them about the satanic empire. Star Wars, Battleship Galactica, or whatever else, this is all fables, fiction, entertainment. It will not benefit them in this life or the next, really. Whereas knowledge about the evil empire, the satanic empire, is knowledge for life, here and in the hereafter. We benefit from it both here and in the hereafter. So where it all started from, our children should be aware. They should know who started it, who established it, and how Satan succeeded, what method he used in causing Adam and Eve to disobey Allah. At the same time, how he caused the people in the time of Prophet Noah to worship idols, and how he continues to cause followers of the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, in spite of the fact that he has brought the last message to humankind with crystal clarity, a message, a book of revelation in which there is no doubt, the Quran. His own clarification, his way, his sunnah, which details how each and every command of the Quran is to be implemented. In spite of all of that, we find Muslims today, many have deviated from the correct way. So it is essential for us to educate our children in this regard. And we have looked at a variety of elements with regards to this struggle, this battle, this war that is ongoing. We looked at the spiritual elements of it, how people are drawn into idolatry. And we looked at how the home comes under attack and how to purify it. In this episode, we're going to have a look at some of the means that are used by Satan and his forces to misguide people, to deceive them. The first method is making falsehood seem attractive. This is the method which he used to trick Adam and Eve. Allah had made all of the trees of the garden permissible for Adam and Eve to eat from. A garden full of trees containing fruit. All of them they could eat from as much as they wished. But there was one tree they were asked not to eat from. One, looking similar to the others, but Allah told them not to eat from this particular tree. So what did Satan do? He came to Adam and he played on him, played on his desires. He made that one tree, of which there were many others similar to, seemed to be the one tree that he needed to eat from. And this is what we can see today, where forbidden things, for every forbidden thing, there are 1,001 permissible things. But somehow, Satan makes the one which is forbidden the thing that we seem to have, as if all of the other things become meaningless, and only the one which is forbidden is the one which we feel our life is incomplete without. So this is the trick. Allah said, with regards to Satan making falsehood seem attractive, تالله لقد أرسلنا إلى أمم من قبلك فزين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم. By Allah, I've sent messengers to the nations before you, and Satan beautified their deeds. Beautified whatever they were doing. Satan made those doings appear beautiful to them, so they wouldn't give them up. Also, that was in the 16th chapter, verse 63. We can also find, with regards to Adam, Allah saying, قَالَ يَا آدَمْ هَلْ أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى شَجَرَةِ الْخُلْدِ وَمُلْكٍ لَا يَبْلَى. Satan said to Adam, shall I show you the tree of life and a dominion which would never wear out? He named this tree, the tree which Allah had prohibited for Adam and Eve, the tree of life. Allah didn't call it the tree of life, but He did that, used that terminology in order to make it seem beautiful, and tricked Adam and Eve into eating from it. So this is a common tactic of the satanic forces, beautifying corruption and evil. Also, exaggeration and negligence. Exaggeration in the sense of getting people to do beyond what they are required to do in the religion, in the name of trying to be more holy or trying to be more spiritual, etc., going beyond the bounds which the religion has set. One might say, well, how can you really exaggerate in what's good? Well, the point is that on one occasion, some people came to the wives of the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, and they asked about the Prophet's life in the home as they observed it. How did the Prophet spend his nights? How was he in relationship to his wives? How was he in terms of fasting? Did he fast regularly? Etc. When they gave him the information, those people said, well, you know, he is one who is forgiven by Allah for all errors. He's protected by Allah. So we need to do even more than he is doing. So one of them said, I'm going to fast every day. And the other one said, I'm not going to get married. And the third one said, I'm going to stay up every night in prayer. When the Prophet ﷺ came and he heard what these people had said, he called the people and said to them, I fast and I break my fast. I have relations with my wives, and I pray at night and I sleep at night. Whoever prefers a sunnah or a way other than the one which I have brought is not a true follower of mine. So he rejected these exaggerated practices. Though Islam encourages prayer, it encourages fasting, and it encourages abstinence, but within bounds, not to go to extremes. The Catholics, for example, they went to the same kind of extreme with regards to their priests. Don't marry. Priests should not marry. What is the consequence? They're currently now in jails for abuse of children, because the natural desire to want to have relations with your wife, when you deny yourself that, what do you end up doing? Corruption. So they became corrupt. And fasting continually, when a man wanted to fast continually, he asked the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want to fast regularly, more than say Mondays and Thursdays, which the Prophet used to fast every week, he said, then fast the fast of Prophet Dawood. What was that? Fast of Prophet Dawood, every other day. Why not every day? We do that in Ramadan. Well, Ramadan is fine. A month in the year, we fast every day. But if we turn the fasting to be daily every year, throughout the year, then fasting will lose its meaning. We will just change our life patterns. Night becomes day, day becomes night. That's what we end up doing. So to prevent it becoming a habit, the fast of Dawood was favored, fasting every other day. So you have to readjust yourself each time. With that, we're going to take a brief break and come back and continue. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last messenger of Allah. Welcome back, dear viewers. We continue to look at the weapons of Satan and the satanic forces used to misguide people. And we said that this is something we should teach our family members. Everybody should know this. It should be clear. We're in a battle with Satan. And Allah warned us in so many places in the Quran to beware of Satan. He is your enemy. So we were looking at the method by exaggerating worship. Acts of worship are exaggerated, and what that leads to is the opposite of what one intends in the end. So the Prophet ﷺ, on one occasion, he came to a masjid, he visited a masjid on more than one occasion actually, and he found a man in there praying. And then afterwards he asked the people, who is looking after this man's family? And they said, his brother. So he said, his brother is better than him. His brother is better than him. So it's not about just praying all the time. Praying is good. And the more prayer you do, the better. But it should be within the realm of what is reasonable. Prayer should not stop one from doing one's duty to one's family. So that kind of exaggeration in worship, Prophet ﷺ had said that people who exaggerate in worship, eventually it will overcome them. It will be too much, and they will end up crumbling and not being able to do anything. The other form of exaggeration is in negligence. That people become lax and lazy. So the religious requirements, they stop doing, or only doing them on occasion. So you have the phenomenon of what we call today the Friday Muslim. He only prays on Friday. Or the Ramadan Muslim. He only prays in Ramadan. What is this? There's no such thing. A Muslim prays 5 times a day. If he abandons that, as the Prophet ﷺ said, the distinction between belief and disbelief is prayer. Whoever abandons the prayer has become a disbeliever. So in fact, the person who doesn't pray except on Fridays or doesn't pray except in Ramadan, in fact, they have fallen into a state of disbelief. Depending on what's happening in their hearts, whether they're actually a disbeliever in the full sense or not, that's between them and Allah. But externally, they're doing acts of disbelief by not engaging in regular prayer. So negligence is dangerous also. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ prescribed a variety of supererogatory acts of worship, what we call the sunnah. Before each obligatory prayer, there are sunnah prayers, before and after. Before to prepare one going into the prayer, after to make up for mistakes in the prayer. And if a person sticks with those and becomes lax, then they go down to just doing the obligatory. But if all they're doing is the obligatory, they become lax, then they fall into abandonment of prayer. Very dangerous state. Similarly, before we fast in the rest of the year, and after fasting in the rest of the year, we have recommended days of fasting. Whether Shawwal, we have 6 days from Shawwal, we're encouraged to fast after fasting Ramadan, or every Monday and Thursday, or the 3 days of the full moon of every month, we're encouraged to fast these days throughout the year. These are supererogatory fasts. And again, there's additional reward. If we get a bit lax, maybe we leave off some of those, but we don't get lax with our obligatory fasts. Likewise, for every other act of worship, there are supererogatory forms of worship to help protect that core of worship. So negligence in the supererogatory doesn't harm the obligatory, but negligence in the obligatory is very dangerous. One may fall by the way completely. The third way in which Satan operates on people is through procrastination and laziness. Putting off till tomorrow what you should be doing today. Lazy, not getting up and praying in the early morning, right? The early morning prayer, Fajr. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said it's the most difficult prayer for the hypocrites. Those who are externally Muslim or pretend to be Muslim, but internally they really don't believe. Difficult to get up, early in the morning and pray. It's easier to sleep. And regarding a man who slept the whole night, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he was asked about him, he said, Satan urinated in his ear. Satan urinated in his ear. That's his state. So being on time, doing things when they're supposed to be done, not delaying, this is the way of true faith. Also, Satan uses the weapon of promises and wishes. As mentioned in the 4th chapter, verse 120, يَعِدُهُمْ وَيُمَنِّيهِمْ وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. He promises them and arouses in them false hopes and desires. And Satan only promises them deception. His promises are only deception. So when you hear somebody saying that, when a person is told, for example, that they shouldn't commit such sins, this is something punishable, Allah will punish them, etc., and they come out with Allah Ghafur Rahim, Allah is most merciful. So they have this false hope in the forgiveness and mercy of Allah when they're not doing what is necessary to deserve that forgiveness and mercy. So these false hopes, Satan feeds on it. Person gets that feeling, well, it's all right, no problem. Other people around me are doing the same thing. Most people are not really praying regularly, so it's okay for me, etc. This is satanic tricks. Also, his misguidance may come gradually, may not come right up in front of you, showing you the obvious state of misguidance. He brings you along gradually. This is one of the methods that he uses. Just as we said, in the case of the people in the time of Noah, who ended up worshiping those idols, he didn't come to the people in the first generation and say to them, hey, worship these idols. No, he told them, make these idols to remind you of the good people so you'd remember to do good. And later on, when people forgot why they did the idols, then he told them, worship them. Because it's your foreparents used to worship them, and that's why they used to have such good crops and their harvests were wonderful, etc., etc. That's his methodology. Sly and slippery. That's why it's called Al-Khannas in Surah An-Nas, the one who whispers and he slips away. Also, he causes people to forget. When you forget Allah, then you can commit sin. If you're remembering Allah, very difficult. So we find that mentioned in a number of places in the Quran where Allah speaks about Satan causing people to forget, as in the case of the Yusha ibn Nun, who was accompanying Prophet Musa when he was on his way to meet Khidr. Then he had put the basket down where they had the fish near the sea, and the fish went into the sea and swam away. He forgot to mention it to Prophet Musa. When Prophet Musa had asked him about it, he said, فَإِنِّي نَسِيتُ الْحُوتَ وَمَا أَنْسَانِيهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانُ أَنْ أَذْكُرَهُ. That is, indeed, I forgot to tell you about the fish. And it was only Satan who caused me to forget, remembering to tell you. Also in the 6th chapter, verse 68, we see Allah saying there, وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ. Either Satan was going to cause you to forget, he uses this phrase. So forgetfulness, which comes from Satan, is something dangerous for the human psyche. It's dangerous for humans trying to do good deeds, trying to lead righteous lives. Forgetfulness leads one into sin. And he also creates a state of misguidance through fear, excessive fear. Allah mentions in the 3rd chapter, verse 175, إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ يُخَوِّفُ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ فَلَا تَخَافُوهُمْ وَخَافُونِي إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Indeed, that is only Satan putting fear in his allies. So don't fear them. Fear me if you are truly believers. So Satan puts fear in people. People's fear of loss, of wealth, leads them into seeking to gain wealth through illegitimate means, through stealing, through interest, through a variety of other ways. So it is important that we don't allow Satan to put that pressure on us so we end up being involved in the forbidden. With that, dear viewers, we're going to stop here. There are still a few more weapons of Satan that we need to look at, and we'll be looking at them hopefully in our next episode number 7 of the series, The Empire of Deceit. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh.